Peace, family. Welcome to another episode Underground Railroad Productions. This is your host, Brother Rich. I'm sure y'all seen this brother. I mean, isn't the background beautiful, y'all? Look at that. The brother. I mean, come on, man. Well, introduce to yourself to the people. For those who may not have seen you on the channel, let them know who you are, brother.
Well, greetings, family. My name is Sri Master Gano Grills. And I didn't have my master title the last time I was here, but that's a recent bestowal. I'm very happy about that. And I am a spiritual advisor, actor, graffiti engineer. I've, walked on a few different platforms. And, we're here in Central Park. I'm just, soaking all of this in because we're like on the precipice of fall. So it's really nice to see all of these people just breathing in the elements and connecting with the grass and the trees, and this is beautiful, man.
Well, before we get into it, what enabled, tell the people, how did you get this title, Sri Master? What's that about?
All right, well, Sri has many different meanings, but the title that I have, the Sri is a base name of my divine mother, who is a goddess named Lakshmi, and it is also equivalent to a spiritual PhD. It's how the spirit world validates the forces that I work with and what I teach. And in terms of that looks good. That's all right. Video Village, that's what they would call this. So we just did a seminar, Divine World, in Los Angeles last month. And there was a transmission that came to pass where there were some of the gods that convened, and they gave me a title of master. It's beyond master teacher, and they asked me to put that in front of my name to denote and differentiate me from others. And literally what that means is that you are a card carrier of their power. You are a representative of the gods themselves, of which I work with and for 22 of them. So when they look and they see that you have acquired a level of mastery, they will bestow you with that title and all of the things that come with it. And that's something that is a recent event, and I'm very, very humble and thankful and grateful to the gods for that bestowal.
Somebody that deals with spirituality, and you say you're working with these 22 gods, what do you think about the planet being populated by so many different religions, so many different forms of spirituality, so many different systems, so many gods, goddesses? I mean, it's just, you go to Mexico, it's different. You go to Japan, it's different. You go to America, it's different. And a lot of people, in order to raise their God, they usually put down another God in order to raise their God up. With your form of spirituality, do you ever discredit anybody else's form of spirituality, or do you feel as though it all has a purpose? How do you feel about all of that?
It does. It's all relative. I had a friend, Earl Nash, God bless the dead, rest in peace. He always used to say, it's all relative. And no, I don't denounce or castigate or admonish others' beliefs. If anything, it's all inclusive and it is all relative. There was a doctor, Anthony T. Browder, that said something that really was powerful a few years ago, and I'm sure you might have seen it yourself. He said that the things that we know as a humanity fit into a thimble. And then you empty out that thimble into an 8-ounce glass, and that represents the things that we know that we do not know. And then you take that 8-ounce glass and then you empty it into the expanse of, let's say this is the ocean. That represents the things that we don't know, that we don't even know, that we don't know, right? So I think that begins to really turn the pages in terms of how expansive the power of creation and spirituality is. And the reality is, let's say there are about 7 to 8 billion people on the planet, but there are many, many times more exalted beings, be they gods, angelics, galactics, hierarchies, exalted beings, ascended masters. They all are not human, yet some of them have actually graduated the human form. And the knowledge that they possess is staggering. So if you look at someone like, let's just say Einstein, whose intelligent quotient was off the Richter scale, the gods have intelligence that go into the high thousands. And one syllabus issued from them in your direction would cause a massive download of a library of information or outformation. And these are the beings that I work with and for.
So, in terms of, let's get right into the spirit talk. When the people see you, they know it's going to be some spiritual talk. You know, some advanced stuff going on. They know it's not going to be just no regular mundane issues that you're dealing with. I was reading something today, Gano. It was talking about our multidimensional nature. I said, you know what? This is going to be one of the first questions I asked the brother. We've been hearing forever that this is an illusion.
Right.
So even the ancients called it Maya. Am I correct? The Maya?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If this is an illusion, Gano, is it safe to say, and this is a projection of your higher consciousness, your soul, your being, whatever term you want to use for it, the essence of who you are, is it safe to say you're somewhere else right now projecting what we are seeing here now? So you're multiple places at the same time.
Yes.
So you're somewhere, you're in another dimension. Because you know what, this is the reason why I asked that. When somebody passes away, they say, oh, they went back to heaven. But it appears that we're already in heaven. So if we're already in heaven, we never left heaven, and we're just projecting an aspect of ourselves down here, but we never really left heaven. Is that a safe way to say that?
I would say that part of that is true, and partially, you know, all of those things have a level of truth in it. I like to, you know, what's your name, brother?
Alvin.
Alvin, say hello to the camera.
Hey, you too.
All right, what's your name, young man?
Hayden.
Hayden, my name is Gano. Nice to meet you. All right. Thanks for lending us your energy. That's a beautiful thing.
Okay, let us finish up. Thank you.
When it comes to the axiom, or when people say that this is an illusion, you know, there is a nursery rhyme that says, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. That's really the same as what people say this is. So the part that I haven't really heard espoused this much is that, yes, there is a part of us that is in the primordial world. By and large, it would be impossible for the voltage of that immense wattage to fit into this aperture that we call the human container or the body. So a large part of who we are is there, and then it's so powerful and amorphous that it spills over into a multi-dimensional stage, as if you took a glass, you fill it up, and it spilleth over. We are the spillover, and we would be analogous to less than a drop of the containment that's in that side of that glass.
I like that.
And our job really is to get back inside of that spillover. So the reason that we are 97% dormant is because we haven't grown beyond the limitation of our 3% of what we use. And so it is true. Also, there's another way to look at it. Science, if you look at NASA, they have compiled enough footage to say that this reality that we perceive with our five senses is a holographic depiction, that it actually is a series of computer programs. There's enough proof in all of your life to really prove that. If you look at how sometimes you think about someone and then they appear, or if you think about a song and you're actually humming the words to the song, and next thing you know, that song, someone is driving by with that. Or you'll think about an event and someone from that event that occurred 12 years ago will show up in your life. That would have to intimate and prove the fact that if you know anything about computer science or anything about programs, the programs synthesize off of each other. And there are certain things that read. So if you do an upload of a program, it has to process within the formation of the computer. It comes from the hard drive, or it may come from software, but it has to be integrated into the overall intelligence of the computer in order for you to perceive it. The caveat is that a lot of people have not integrated from higher parts of themselves, different parts of their multidimensional complex. And lastly, the most difficult part of yourself to integrate into the consciousness, the limited consciousness of your body, would be that which comes from the primordial aspect, which is the part of you that never left God. That part of you is powerful enough to split the ocean or create a miracle for someone else. Those laws are very different from the laws that we have to live by here on earth. So the goal is to get to a point where you have downloaded enough of that resonance from your primordial self to exact change here in your world on earth.
As these multi-dimensional beings, don't you think we make laws to break them, since we're ultimately the creator?
Well,
A law such as gravity.
okay.
Some may say 500,000 years ago our ancestors knew how to fly. Today we would say that's impossible because of the laws of gravity.
Right.
So do we make certain laws restrict our divinity just to conquer these restrictions to prove our divinity?
Absolutely. And to conjunct with that, what I would say, let's say the Wright brothers back in the late 1800s, they began to experiment with flight. So they knew that there was something deeply inherent within them that was beckoning them to discover that there are ways to break the limitation that they were living in. And that's really what they did. So it's kind of oxymoronic when you look at the body. There's something inside of each and every person that will push them to break the boundaries that they're living in. And this is the reason, the true reason why, and I would say this is really more left-handed, that there are people who have this incessant desire to jump out of a plane because they want to experience what it feels like to fly in the air.
Right.
Another person may want to climb Mount Everest. There's something in the soul that wants to expose and prove to them that they are not the limitation of the body that they live inside of. So yes, in essence, to answer your question, humans make laws to break them, but really they make those, they discover those laws and limitations to break free of them. And if you read something called the Emerald Tablets, there's a god that I work with in Kemetica. He's known as Tahuti. In pre-Atlantean times, he was known as Lord Thoth. He says many times over in the Emerald Tablets, break free of your body, O man. He actually broke free of his body by discovering that he was able to astral project out of the body and then cosmically project throughout the cosmos. And he discovered advanced races. He discovered beings that could think about something and instantly materialize it. So he brought back that datum and comprised something that is known as the Emerald Tablets, which is really pre-biblical, and it has not been able to be destroyed. It's something that is alchemically configured so that the people who come across it can expand their consciousness. And when you read that, you can actually feel the layers of the onion of your mind peeling back to get to something that is more centralized in your thinking.
Listening to you refer to ourselves as humans, some people will say we are gods because we're part of that spillover that we talked about a little earlier. When Denzel is let's say Denzel Washington is in a movie playing Training Day, he understands the whole time that he's acting. And while he's acting, he still knows that he's Denzel. And if he gets caught, if after he's acting or during he's acting, he starts to think he's that person, he may go crazy. He may have an identity crisis. Do you think we have an identity crisis by referring to ourselves as human? Because it's just a hologram. Why would Gano refer to himself as the hologram instead of referring himself as the infinite substance that he really is?
Right. That's a great question. And when I have my seminars, a lot of times I actually don't. I walk away from the mortal aspect of what I project myself to be. So a lot of times when people come to my seminars, I start to talk as if I am the avatar of Lord Ganesh, who is a god that exists outside of your temporal reality. And then I start saying, these are the problems that you have on your world. And someone said, well, why do you talk like that? And I said, well, it's not really me as much as it is the God part of who I am talking through. And when I consult people, a lot of times I am speaking from that aperture. So to reverse the algorithm, when someone refers to themselves as a god, the carriage doesn't come before the horse. There's a prematurity in someone eliciting that reality. Yes, you are a god. You are part of the vast menagerie or the vast complex that is creation, but not before you master the limitations that you're living in. So there are people that are drug addicts, that have conflictions with dope, that have not mastered certain things about this life. You don't call yourself a god when you have not mastered your own limitations first. This is the reason why the mystery schools existed. So the mystery school's job was to take the aspirant or the adept or the participant into a system that would allow them to lose the shadow of their challenges, fear, trepidation, and limitation, only to emerge as an exalted being to where they could be called a master, and then they were no longer affected by the elements. They knew how to control the forces of nature. They knew how to produce things. Some of them were alchemical. Some of them could produce and hold out their hand and create something out of the tapestry of what appears to be nothingness. And in order to become a god, you have to realize what you are first, not the other way around, or else it continuously becomes a perpetual notion of altruism and farcicism.
See, I kind of did the opposite throughout with my experience, and this is some great talk. I really appreciate this conversation. I find that from what I've my research, my study, my self-reflection, talks with myself, the method I have always used was I have to believe it to see it, and I see it to believe it. So before I started this channel, before I start any endeavor, I proclaim it, like Reverend Ike would say,
right,
before I see it.
Right.
So I proclaim my divinity, whether it be God or whether it be a divine being, before I, as you would say, before I master it.
Right.
And somehow, some way, that enables me to reach that level which I proclaimed before it even existed. So it may sound like a contradiction. It may sound like I'm lying to myself, but I know that it exists within me. I know I can't see it with my sense, see it, hear it, taste it, or...
I'm sorry, I don't have to go. Yeah, I'm listening.
No,
I'm sorry.
he's-
Lighttokis.com.
He's a superstar out here, y'all, so it's hard to do the interview.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Right.
But
We're drawing a crowd here, Rich. It's very interesting.
But basically what I'm getting at is that the concept of believing something, to see it, as Ali, before he was great, he said I was the greatest before I knew I was.
Right.
So I just find that what works for me is proclaiming something before the senses give me permission.
Don't touch that.
Before the senses.
You can look, but don't touch, okay? He switched it a little bit, so you might want to look at it and make sure that it is
Nah, you good.
right and exact. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but what do you
Right.
think about that? Proclaiming your mastery and I'm the greatest of all time, and people look at you like, man, what the hell are you talking about?
Right. Okay, so I think that's it's a powerful quixotic that you post. So let's deal with Ali first. So Muhammad Ali was someone that is very, very rare. He was someone that I see him as someone that had a main line from that higher part of his knowingness that was singly downloaded into his body, so much to the point where he had to live up to the things that the storm in his brain that was telling him, you are the greatest, you will be the greatest of all time. He was told that from beyond, from his distant future. So it propelled him and drove him to do those. This is what a lot of people don't realize. Muhammad Ali worked very, very hard to grow into what his destiny was projecting to him. He did the underwater workouts. He ran on the beach. He abstained from sex. He trained really hard to grow into the echoance of what he was being told. Now, all of us have that same thing. And what you're talking about, Brother Rich, is a version of faking it till you make it, so to speak. There is an ideology of people that feel, and this is really prevalent in Hollywood, there are people that, they'll live beyond their means to give a false account of who they are not. So they'll get a Maybach Mercedes knowing that they can't afford it. They'll put on these airs and these false illusions about themselves only to impress the people that they want to figuratively get in bed with or make a deal with, right? And that's called faking it till you make it. The deficit in that kind of stance or ideology is that would it not be more solvent and buoyant to actually become the person first before you make the proclamation? I think it's more expedient for someone to develop the acumen or the prowess or whatever it is that they're proclaiming and really be that however long it takes, because then it's solid. Then it's not an illusion. Then no one could, as Ghostface would say, poke a hole in your Ghostface balloon. So it's important for people, and it's one thing as we say as Wu-Tang, is we learn to keep it real. The reality of who you are is based upon who you say you are. I am whatever you say I am, and if I wasn't, then why would I say I am? There are people that are proclaiming things that are not the reality, and this is what causes confusion. So I think it's important for people, and again, if you look at a Shaolin monk, they work years to learn how to move their body in a way and direct the forces of the chi, so much to the point where they could fight you without touching you. This is a true master of the elements. If someone were to go into the Shaolin temple and proclaim that they are a master before they even knew how to do that, it would be premature. And prematurity is somewhat what causes a lot of the empty talent that we have today. I look at a lot of these artists that have albums. Back in Motown times, they had something called artist development, where they would give media training, they would give vocal theory, they would give music classes to the artist, so that the artist, when the artist was unleashed to the world, the artist had a great repository of poise, information, and things to draw from, as opposed to now, everyone is...
Please stop, please,
yes.
y'all, please.
Everyone becomes a star by putting themselves on a platform of their own making on YouTube. And the potential problem with that is that you should be ready to live up to who you say you are. So a doctor has to go to medical school to become a doctor. A doctor after medical school has to do a residency where you work under grueling conditions for maybe 2 or 3 years, where you have to show that you could stay up for 24, 36, maybe 48 hours, make decisions about life and death with very little sleep in between. Then, and only then can you be classified as a doctor, not before. So that's what I would say about that particular program.
Let's talk a little bit about parallel realities. I see a lot of talk about that on YouTube within the spiritual community. They say that this idea of linear time is an illusion. There's no such thing as linear time. It's our perception that creates linear time, like today, tomorrow. It's only the now. It's the constant now. Now is now. Now is now. 5 seconds from now is going to be now.
Right.
And right now is now. It's
right.
It's a continuum of the now. So they say that your past, you could change your past. One of the biggest problems that we have in our community is that our past haunts us, man. We got some serious childhood issues, man. Some shit done happened to us, Gano, in our childhood,
yes.
that we hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
When a person hears a spiritualist say you could change your past, they're like, nigga, the past done left. This is over with. How can I change the past if I'm in the present? So talk to me about time being illusion, parallel realities, and the ability for everybody who has all these childhood issues to go and alter their past.
Okay, that's a great question, Rich. And, you know, I consult a lot of people, and I come across something that's really heinous, and it is molestation. I consult a lot of women that have been transgressed upon, and I talk them through it, and I give them different things that they can do that they can actually change their past. So let's deal with that first. You know, sexual abuse within the family, even in the close outer circle of the family, is more prevalent in our community and in our country than what is actually reported and known. So there are people that are walking around with that incident still playing in their consciousness, and it gives them low self-esteem.
Exactly.
It gives them the "I'm not good enough" recording that constantly plays in their consciousness. Yes, there is a way to go back and change it. So I would offer this freely to anyone who is watching, male or female, that has gone through something as egregious as, you know, it doesn't even have to be molestation. It could be maybe you got bullied in school and you got punked out a lot and you're walking around with anger inside of you because you never dealt with all of the times that maybe you could have, you know, shot a family with someone, but you chose not to because maybe the guy was too big or the girl was crazy and you don't want to get cut. That was a wise decision for you to walk away from that inherent violence. However, you have an opportunity to change that by, how you doing? Going to meditation. If you have an altar, you can light a candle, sit in front of the altar, make sure your place is quiet. You can get a high frequency incense, and you could really go back to that moment in time. And I would say if it was a series of years, go back to the 3 most egregious ones. Let's deal with those first and get those very clear in your mind. Light the incense, light the candle, sit in front of your altar. If you don't have an altar, that's fine. Just sit in meditation. Make sure your environment and the frequency of your environment is pristine. If you have sage or Palo Santo, use it. If you have frankincense and myrrh, use that. Go back in time, meditate for 10 minutes, breathing through the nose, out through your mouth. Make sure your back is straight and that you are not lying down, because there's a Kundalini aspect that has to come into the electricity of what you are about to do with changing the formation of your past. And the way that you do that is to sit like this, and you can go back and create a movie screen on your mind's eye and change what happened. Change it to the desired outcome. Go back to when your uncle came in and closed the door. And then you tell your uncle, instead of allowing him and being too afraid of letting him put his hands on you, you tell your uncle, no, this will not happen ever again. And this actually never did happen. And you usher him out of the room, and you take the power back into your life and close the door and play that over and over in your mind, and replace, unplug all of the events that you're suffering with, and plug in the new empowerment of that visualization, and that will become the reality. Next thing you know, you will walk differently, you'll speak differently, you will attract different men or women or circumstances into your life based upon you switching out that center block. That's one of the ways that you can do it. Now let's talk about parallel realities, which is the former part of your question. Parallel realities, again, are the spillover of your divine complex. So the gods who created your soul, who are your divine, built within your soul so much primordial light that it creates a tentacle. If you look at a tassel that people have on their graduation cap, the top part of the tassel could be the oversoul, and all of the little strings that hang from it could be analogous to the parallel lives and parallel realities. I would challenge all of you to say that if some of you have been in meditation or you feel yourself falling asleep, you could actually see yourself somewhere else, in a park or running down the block, or dealing with the children that you don't have on this dimensional reality, and that is your or one of your parallel lives. You have a home there, you have a very real reality there, and the only time you give yourself the permission to experience it is predominantly when you go to sleep, or if you learn how to meditate in a certain way. One of the things that I teach all of the Galactic students is how to take this conscious mind into the astral plane and through the dream gate, so that they can wake up in their dreams and have a lucid experience and be able to fly through the air, breathe underwater, and deal with their future. And it's an ability that we all have if we learn how to unlock the doorways within the consciousness that keep us away from that.
You know, they always say technology is an emulation of our spiritual. The artificial technology is doing nothing, a copycat version of our spiritual technology.
That's right.
So they're saying this is an illusion. They're saying that this is a projection of our consciousness. I hear some people say that reality can be compared. Motion is an illusion. The idea of motion is illusion, some people say. And that you could compare reality to a still picture frame. You know how like you got, let's say you got 30 picture frames, and if you flick through them real fast, it looks like it's moving, but it's really not moving. It's a still frame.
Right.
So they're saying that reality is still frequencies, and our consciousness moves through them billions of times a second so fast that it appears that we're moving, but we're not. We're just going through frequency, like billions of times a second.
That's right.
So it made me think about dreams. Because in a dream, Gano could be sitting right here. The next thing you know, you're sitting on top of a building.
Right.
Is it that your consciousness went from one picture frame to another picture frame in a much faster rate than what you do in awakened state? Like, how does that work? How does this whole technology work of still picture frames and us running through a billion times a second?
Well, the tapestry of creation, if you look at the electromagnetic spectrum and you look at the ultraviolet frequency, I believe it vibrates over 400 trillion times in under a second. There are levels of cognition that you can utilize in order to see what some of those actions are. So when you're dealing with the Kundalini, which is predominantly the aperture that allows you to experience every single dimensional complex that you live on, if you learn how to master that and your Kundalini is activated, your dreams will change, and you can start to become more of a participator in your own dreams. So when you look at the 24 frames per second, that's deducement of the master frequency. And you know, I'm a vicegerent of 44444. We're actually living in 2016, which delineates into a series of 5 4s. 4 seems to be the cubing, and I'm going to teach that in hypernatural magic, how we can use that to unlock the hidden power of the dream. So in your dreams, yes, you can be here in 1 second, and you could be in a totally different environment in a fraction of a nanosecond. That's because you're using a different part of your consciousness that is eternal. And the eternal part of your consciousness does not have time. Now, this would lead us back to something that you said before. In reality, no, time does not exist. Time is a machination. It's a creation that has to subsist so that we can figure out who we really are. So we live in a machination of time, which is an artificial creation that allows us to interface with the limitation of where we came from, or being unplugged or separated from the eternal part of who we are. Time allows us to perceive the opposite of perfection. And a lot of us existed in pristine perfection, but we got bored with that. We got tired.
I was about to ask that.
Right. Okay. So there are many, or let me take that back. There are mythologies that talk about how we were in the primordial world, and anything we thunk of or think of became a reality. And really that's analogous to, you know, somebody is constantly coming up to you and giving you a compliment. After a while, you're going to wonder why that person is constantly bombarding you with nicety. And then you might start to wonder what's wrong with that person. And eventually you might ask that person, okay, I got it. Can you stop? So the threshold for human receptivity of goodness, kindness, bliss, and euphoria, again, is very low. We don't allow ourselves to experience grand goodness. So we like to, and let me take the me out of it because I no longer participate in this. But humans like to suffer. They enjoy the struggle. They like to deal with not having enough. They love to waddle in the throes of the spirit of lack and poverty consciousness, because if the opposite were true, they could instantly bring themselves into the frequency of abundance, of which it is all around you. So when you get outside of time, you can see that the past, the present, and the future are all happening at the same time. So basically, you're still that little kid that lived in the past, that's still going on, and there's an old man part of you that still is there. And sometimes when you dream at night, you will actually see visions of what you're doing in your future. And that's what proves that eternity is a real thing. The job that most people have is learning how to come out of the machination of the time complex. When you look at some of the gods live for billions and billions of years. 1 year to them might be 3 eternities to you, into your perception. So again, one of your jobs, when I say your, I mean whoever's listening that wants to evolve, is to come outside of those limitations and learn how to master time and become timeless, but not before the prematurity of knowing how to do it and how to advocate for it.
With knowing what you know, you just got the title Sri Master.
Yes.
You're having this 3D experience down here. Would you want to come back for another experience? I mean, you're learning how to manipulate elements. You know what the laws of nature are. You know about energy and frequency. So it seems like it wouldn't be that bad, because you know what you got to do to get what you want to get. So with that being said, would it be that bad for you to come down here, or are you done having this what we call human experience?
Well, I would say I actually chose to come back, and I declared that this would be my last time. And as I talk to people, a lot of people are saying that this is my last time around. So there are a lot of people that have the sensation that this is going to be their last physical lifetime. But in order to make that a reality, you're going to have to unlock the fetters, which are very, very thick, ironclad cuffs that keep you bound here spiritually. And there's been a lot of intercedence or grand design, divine intervention that has been given to this particular age and this time to help people make this their last lifetime, because really it's no different from playing in the mud, as I've said many times before. Playing in the mud as little children or in the sandbox, after a while it gets tiring. You've experimented with the granules of sand and playing with your friends, but eventually you're going to want to go home. And there's something, again, that's deeply entrenched inside of every soul. There is a homesickness, and there is a sensation that this is not your true home, and that eventually you're going to want to make it back there. And that's how it plays out and how it feels.
By the way, a lot of people that I know say that are black people, because they're tired of catching hell down here. So they're like, man, I don't want to come back here. Let me I have a picture here of now you're in the hip hop.
Yes.
Yeah, actor. You've been in, you was in Jay-Z videos in the past, so I'm sure you know who Andre 3000 is, right?
Yes, I do.
From Outkast.
Yes.
So the brother was wearing a shirt the other day. It said, across cultures, darker people suffer most. Why?
Yeah.
With what you know, what would if Andre 3000 was standing right here and asked you that face to face, what would you tell him from your spiritual expertise?
Well, I would congratulate him for having the presence of mind to give people something to think about. And I would also say that the darkness of the universe is the melanin that exists within us. And if we were not here, the universe wouldn't be here. But there is a challenge of illusion of epic proportions that's here. So let's just take carbon, let's take melanin, let's take darkness, dark matter, let's take our different hues of blackness that we live in. That means challenge. And when you look up at the night sky, if you were in an observatory and you were to have a high enough telescope, you can look into outer space and see the tapestry of carbon playing out. You could see the melanin playing out, and you might see some planets shining in the tapestry of darkness. But really, in truth, that is an illusion, and that's not really there. That is a blanket, and there's something far grander going on. So you're perceiving it on a very limited aperture of your perspective, and the job is to, again, raise your vibration to the point where you can actually see what is truly going on. And there are gold beings that are as big as buildings. There are many different unnamed races that we don't have a name for. There are inventions that would far supersede the very things that we hold dear on this planet. All of them are right inside of the universe. There are people that are sensitive enough to look up in the sky and they can actually see the gods. My mental acuity is, I'll give you an example. When I just came from doing Divine World, I saw the god Anpu, or the Greeks call him Anubis. He was standing in the room, and he was superimposed over one of his sons that was in the room. And I told the guy, I said, let me ask you something. How do you feel about Kemetica? And he said, it's funny you should mention that because I've been thinking about getting a statue of Anpu on my arm, and I've loved him since I was little. Then that let me know that it was okay to tell him that that was his divine father, and that his divine father brought him to the seminar and accompanied him there, and he was on the verge of tears. His name is Clarence Ward. Hello, Clarence. And I told him, I want you to get a statue of Anpu or Anubis and start making connections with your father on a regular basis, and do this so that he can help you break free of all of your limitations here. So to Andre 3000, you know, it's a powerful question that's posed on that shirt. Black people have a very interesting role here, and this world could not be here without our frequency. And we also have challenges that we would like to overcome, because here's the thing. Remember, the mythology goes like this. We already were in a perfected state. So when you look at
we were the bored ones? We were the bored
Absolutely.
I don't mean to go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to say that, I would say, you know, black people have so many untapped gifts. When I look and I study people walking up and down the block, I can see all kinds of wonderful things around them. But there's something in the conscious mind, especially here in America. You know, if you read that book by William Cooper, he talks about a lot of things that he also gives a warning that if I end up dead, he points to certain alphabet agencies who were most likely the cause. And there's also something called silent, quiet weapons. What is it? Quiet weapons for silent wars, right? If you don't know how you're being attacked, how would you know to block, or how would you know how to shield yourself from the constant barrage of attacks that are going on from the mind-controlled, chemtrails, food, BPH, GMO? All of those different things are attacks that are breaking down your divinity and not allowing you to interface with the divinity of who you really are. So what is the answer to the antidote? What is the antidote? The antidote is to become more of, as Bashar would say, become more of who you really are. Know thyself. When you come to know thyself, you know what your divinity is, you know what your limitations are, you know how to abstain from the things that you have been participating in that are bringing you down to a lower aperture of fecklessness or powerlessness. And when I look at people, I can see a divine signature on them, but I see a very present unwillingness for them to unlock and expose themselves to that because of fear. People don't really want to see who they are on a divine level. So people pretend that they're not immortal. People pretend that they are not gods. People pretend that they are not able to unlock the keys that will give them an everlasting understanding of how to instantly come out of limitation. And I know this because when I consult people and I tell them 3 things that they can do to break free of their financial woes, a lot of times they don't institute it. So that makes a very clear statement that they want to be in financial turmoil and struggle. I tell people, okay, so you have your ancestors visiting you every night. They're coming to you for a reason, and they're asking you for assistance so that they can help you have some of the blessings that you've been blocking through your own ignorance. So there's something here that, and I'm going to make this analogy because I don't want to languish too long on this. There are places on the planet that are very dangerous. Let's say Congo. People want to go to the Congo. People might want to go to Peru. People might want to go to the Amazon jungles and test the nettle of their character. People want to project themselves onto these dangerous situations. And it's really no different than some of the shows that we have where, there's a show where these people are butt naked and they have to deal with the elements and stay there and, get themselves some clean drinking water. Why would someone subject themselves to that? Because they want to test who they really are, and they want to discover that they have the power to overcome limitation. That explains a lot of what black people go through here in America and on the planet. We bring ourselves here to test the nettle of who we are, our ability to overcome, and we familiarize the divinity of who we always have been. And it is a welcoming that people bring into their lives to deduce themselves to something. People like to keep themselves small. People like to say try, could, would, and should because they don't want to appear arrogant. People want to keep it real and say, all right, I'm going to be humble and I'm going to bring myself to this instead of this. That is the decision that people make of their own ignorance. So let's say someone like we were talking about Quincy Jones earlier. If Quincy Jones never took the mantle of exploring the musicality of his gift, we would never have had Thriller. We would not have had Off the Wall. We would not have had James Ingram and Patty Austin. We would not have had the Great White Hope, the Great White Shadow that they call Rod Temperton. The world would be very different without the contribution of Quincy Jones' genius if he was pretending not to be the divine musical genius that he was. If he was afraid of what people thought about him, our world would be different because he would not have grown into the shoes that his soul pushed him to be. And in essence, he came to this world to make a powerful contribution, as did Stevie Wonder and Maurice White and so many different greats that changed the landscape of our planet. So my point is, you don't get anywhere by keeping yourself small, by embracing limitation. Think big. Be all that you can be. I'm borrowing that from the military complex. And strive for perfection. And everybody has a kernel of creation inside of them that if they were to go inside of it, unpack it, flourish it, water it, nurture it, and allow it to blossom from within, that can be one or many different contributions that will change the world and make it a better place to live in.
You mentioned Bashar earlier. Bashar, that's a bad dude right there.
Yes.
I watch a lot of his stuff on you. Bashar, shout out to Bashar. That's a bad dude
Absolutely.
right there. One of the things I've heard Bashar say, and I'm paraphrasing, he said that Earth is a masterclass. A lot of people think lowly spirits come here, but you have to have a certain mastery about you to even incarnate in such a physical form, to hold your spirit in this form for a certain amount of time, or to hold a thought for a certain amount of time. It takes a certain level of mastery. So when he said that, it made me think of this. And it's outrageous, but I have outrageous thoughts, so I might as well share them with you. So I thought about, why would the spirit want to come here and solidify? He said it's a master class. What do we get out of solidifying energy into so-called matter? And I came up with the analogy of cocaine versus crack.
Okay.
You have cocaine, it's a powdery substance, but when you turn it into crack and it turns into that solid, it hits hard. That's
Right.
some strong shit.
Right.
You ever seen a crackhead versus that's like
It's scary, brother.
turns a person out.
It's scary.
So
yeah.
does this reality is just like the crack of the spirit world? It gives us that strong hit that our spirit looks for. You get what I'm saying?
Wow.
If we bored, is this reality giving us that crack hit that we looking for, that high that we want because it's solid crack form, brother?
You know what? That's ingenious, brother Rich. And as I process that, yeah, I would say that. And to add on to what you're saying, it's easy to come to that conclusion because humans, they die and then they come back. They come back here. They come back to rediscovering this. So yeah, I would say that, Night of the Living Basshead, shout out to Professor Griffin, Chuck D, that song is real. If you've ever seen a crackhead, it's and they just came from beaming up and their mind is on fire. The look in their eyes is scary.
Yeah.
There's a real rush. There's a cosmic rush that's associated with the condensation and, as I call, the great primordial regression. When people bring themselves into the finite body only to forget and cut off who you are, only to rediscover who you've always been.
It's a high.
It really is a high. You know what I mean? And I would say also with the black race in particular, we have so many different geniuses inside of us. And I just want to, if I may, give a shout out. We're going to be talking about the Get Down. So
Yes,
I'm looking forward to that. And when I watch Netflix, yes. When I watched that series, my mind was on fire because I saw so much mythology and so many different teachings within that one thing. But one thing I'll say about that is Grand Wizard Theodore, DJ Flowers, Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa. These were gods. These were gods that actually gave birth to something, as Grandmaster Flash says, is the cake that everybody's eating from. And I would challenge anyone that if you really like hip-hop music and you have done well, go back to some of these brothers and cut them a check. Cut them a check. Give them $10,000, and you make $100,000, and that a show. It would be nothing for you to be reciprocate and cut Grandmaster Flash a check, or cut some of these early pioneers a check, and show them that you appreciate that, and maybe you'll have more blessings coming to you. But yes, so I would say that the Earth School, I do agree with what the brother was saying, that it is a master class, but really what's going to happen outside of that is going to be something that has not been done before. And Earth is on the precipice of achieving that, not in our lifetime, unfortunately, but Earth will be known in the universe as doing something that has never, ever been done before, but hopefully will happen over and over again. And if you look at the Lucille Ball show that happened in 1955, Desi Arnaz came up with the studio system, the 3-camera setup, and Hollywood is still using that 50 years later. So he set the tone for that, and Earth is setting the tone for what will be the new standard in this particular universe, and we're living that out.
Before I get to the next question, quick story. I want to give this brother props.
Yeah.
You speak on money a lot, and abundance, and the idea of lack and limitation, and people listening might think you're just talking, but I want to tell the people, sometimes words are the least purveyor of truth. You can say a lot of things, but yet,
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You can say what you want, as we talked earlier, but the way you move and your actions may show something different. So a lot of people may say, I feel abundant. But when it's time, when they at the register and they're spending that money, they're like, damn, the thoughts that go through their mind,
Right.
they're not feeling good. They're feeling the limitation.
Right.
So that's how they really feel inside, not what they're telling everybody. This brother here, man, I provided the brother with a service. I told him a price. The brother gave me more than what I asked for. That's real. It was unrehearsed. It wasn't something that I stressed to the brother or I dropped hints to the brother. He just did it because that's who he is. So he really does not have this idea of limitation or scarcity. And when he talks about abundance, he lives it. He doesn't just talks it with words. So I just wanted to give you a shout out with that for those that are interested in your services. The brother, he walks it. It's in his aura. So you could get Brother Rich will tell you that if you're interested in his services.
Thank you, Brother Rich. I appreciate that.
With that being
King.
said, we in 2016. People say we're going into the age of Aquarius. A lot of people are saying that the human body is going to be making some major adjustments. And because of that, we will be experiencing spiritual symptoms that the hospital may say is a headache. It may say it's stress. It may say it's a brain aneurysm. We talked about that. It may say it's a series of things. And they say, well, you didn't eat this or you didn't do that. But they're saying that because there's so much energy bombarding the planet at this time, that a lot of people are experiencing things that they haven't experienced before, and they want the people to know, don't bug out, don't get crazy, don't start taking tons of medication. This was expected at this time because of the energy that is bombarding the planet. Talk to the people about the spiritual symptoms that we may be experiencing at this time.
Absolutely. Well, okay, so the sun, the solar disk, Ra, is responsible for injecting massive amounts of codes whose responsibility is evolving all life in this particular solar system. The sun is the life giver to all of the planets that are here, whether you can see life on them or not. And what's been happening is that there has been a massive assimilation for people because there were different downloads and there were different codes that the sun is emitting that is 10,000 particles per square inch per second. Whether the sun is out or not, the sun is still radiating that into the atmosphere onto the epidermis of your skin.
Okay.
So when you have certain practices and you have a teacher, they can teach you how to take those particles, integrate them into your reality. For the people who don't have a teacher or they don't have a spiritual practice or a series of practices, they will experience the drag and the backlog of what these heavy energies are attempting to do by gaining access into the apparatus of the consciousness. And it is up to people to have certain meditations, certain practices, certain mudras, mantras, and different things to integrate these frequencies into the body so that you're not lagging behind. So what some of the symptoms may look like is that some people have headaches, some people have very decreased energy, some people are experiencing time loss where there are not enough hours in the day, and that is a real thing because the advent of time has sped up to an extent to where there are not the 24 hours in a day that you once perceived as 24. There actually is a lot less. So a good spiritual teacher will give you practices of how to assimilate these energies in your body, and I'll give you one of them. There is a benefit to going to a tree. There are tree huggers that do this, and they don't know why they're doing it. But really what's happening is that the trees create oxygen, and the trees actually hold the codes that the sun has been eliciting. So if you take your shoes off, absolutely. Okay. If you take the shoes off, right now we're in a park, there are a lot of people that are lying down on the fertility of Mother Earth. They are also getting the photosynthesis that has the information enlightenment factors and the factors of evolution inside of the codex of the grass. So there's a way that you can actually lay on the grass, put the balls of your feet into the negative ions of the soil, hug the tree for a certain amount of time, put your first eye or your third eye onto the surface of the tree, and allow those energies to speed up your the formation of this energy within your body. It's really no different from taking monoatomic gold. It accelerates the circuitry or the electricity of your body by 1,000%, as do colloidals and other herbs. So when you're able to do that, you will get the benefit of it, and it has to be done cyclically, consistently, and persistently in order to get the benefit.
You also deal with manifestation, so I got a question for you.
Okay.
I read Neville Goddard a lot. Have you ever heard of Neville Goddard?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so in one of his books, he talks about before you go to sleep at night, you should think about what you want to manage. This is a way to speed up the process, because we were talking about speeding up the process.
That's right.
Before you go to sleep, think about what you want right before you're about to go to sleep. And if you envision it and think about it, you will bring it with you to the fourth dimension, and your fourth dimensional self will do the work at an accelerated rate. And that next day or the day after or very soon, you will see what you wanted if you do that right before you go to bed. So talk to us about that technique. How accurate is it? Have you done it before? Have you known people that that done it before?
Well, you know, I have not done that particular technique, but I have many different ones that I utilize, and I have one in particular called the Double Master Gateway, and that happens at 11:11 a.m. and 11:11 p.m. Most of the time when I have a seminar, I start it at 11 o'clock, and that's for a good reason. And how you doing, brother? And we are in the throes of the seminar, and I'll have to stop the seminar and put my hands together and put out to the universe what my intentions are for the next coming year. And I've condensed that into something that I can get off within less than 30 seconds, so it doesn't take too much time. But there's a video that I have on my channel, and it's something that you could all participate in. The 11:11 a.m. and 11:11 p.m. has a certain field goal, if you will, that would allow you to project your desire and your wish and bring it to you in the most divine time that would bring it to you in the highest form, in the highest good, in the best possible representation. By you doing this consistently at 11:11 a.m. and p.m., your desire that you may never get just by wishing about it and thinking about it will come to you a lot faster by doing it this way.
On your YouTube channel, what is it again?
Galacticus.com. GALIGHTICUS.com on YouTube.
You speak about the 144,000.
Yes.
When you say that, some people may think, oh, that's that religion, biblical nonsense. Some people think it's very real. Explain to the people what exactly and who are the 144,000.
Okay. The 144,000 are a group of souls who this will be their last lifetime on Earth, and they will also hold the balance for the 7 to 8 billion people that are people on the planet that are choosing to remain unconscious. The 144,000 souls will become enlightened fully within this particular lifetime, making this possibly the last lifetime on Earth. And some of them will probably choose to come back and guide and be a master teacher in another lifetime. But that, by and large, is the 144,000. The 144,000 people are seeing numbers all around them. They're seeing 444, 333. They're seeing their birth dates. And one thing that I've said in the video, another video, there's no one that's giving the real explanation as to why that's happening. Why would you see your birth date being transmitted on a license plate? Why are you seeing your birthday on the back of a bus that's going by slowly? It's because you have set an alarm in the spiritual world in order for you to wake up at a designated time during the age of Aquarius. And this alarm clock is for you. When you want to wake up, you set your time to a certain time. I have to get up at 6 in the morning so I can get ready and be at work by 8:30. So you set the alarm clock to 6 o'clock to alert you and bring you out of your slumber so that you can get ready in enough time to go to where you need to go. So the numbers that people are seeing, there are 144,000 people that are seeing the series of numbers. Those numbers are calling for you to wake up, enter into the ascension program so that you can wake up to who you really have always been, but allowed yourself to be in slumber. And that's the true definition as to why people are seeing the numbers that they've been seeing.
Wow, I'm glad you explained it like that. Like you said, a lot of people aren't explaining it to that extent because a lot of people are reporting seeing these numbers. So I'm glad you said that, brother.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, man, this has been a very interesting. I think we've been on for about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, something like that. It's been
by
great.
really fast.
Yeah, real fast.
Absolutely.
Hey, time is an illusion.
Yeah, it sure is, right? Funny how time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So before we end it, why is that? Why when I'm not having a good time, Gano, is when
Right.
time goes by the slowest. When I'm in traffic and it's gridlock, oh man, it just goes by so slow. But when I'm playing basketball, the thing I enjoy doing the most is the thing that causes time to go by the fastest.
That's right.
Why is that, brother?
Well, that happens because when you are doing something that you love, that you're passionate about, your vibration is higher. And when your vibration is higher, your frequency is more opulent. When your frequency is more opulent, you lose the sensory of the limitation of time. When your frequency is of the shamanic resonance of which Earth is oscillating on, unfortunately, you join the rat race, time goes by slow, and you experience the slow passage of time. But when you're in the throes of doing something, like I know producers that they'll be 24 hours straight producing music and they don't miss a beat. Bill Gates, when he was computing his language and he was really making the template of what the world knows to be now and enjoys so much as the World Wide Web and his incorporation and his gift, people had to go and knock on his door and say, Bill, you've been in there for 3 days. And he was living off of Coca-Cola and M&Ms. It's a documented fact. So he lost all sense of time because he was in a heightened state of creativity. And that's what causes that.
What do you think about I just thought about the movie Wolf of Wall Street when you talked about Bill Gates.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say that the people in Silicon Valley, they take these what do you call them, opioid drugs, opioids, or
Yeah,
I forget.
barbiturates you're talking about?
I don't know if it's that. Well,
Okay.
They basically take something, they get high.
Yeah.
Then once they get high is when all of these ideas come out of them.
Right.
What do you think about people that get high off of drugs to come up with ideas, whether it be musicians or whether it be inventors, but they get high to come up with these ideas?
I'll just say this for the record. I think it would be unfair for me. Let's just say weed. People smoke marijuana. People smoke weed, and they claim that it makes them feel a certain way and it allows them to, feel really good about things. I can't speak for that or against it because I've only gotten high once when I was 19, and I don't know enough about it to be a champion for it. What I have to say about LSD, what I have to say about DMT, different psychedelic drugs, or entheogens or pathogens, I do know that there is a gear shift in the consciousness of the individual who ingests it, and they sometimes are exposed to off-world intelligence. Now, I'm talking about not synthetic. Let's just deal with ayahuasca. Let's deal with ibogaine. Let's deal with the shroom, psilocybin. It has a doorway that will allow you to interface with things that are not readily available in your temporal consciousness. If people are dealing with drugs and they're dealing with opium and they're dealing with that, that's not something that, it is a synthetic way to dial into something that you can do on your own, but it's detrimental and it could become very addictive, and that's not something that I would advocate. But yes, if you go back to Kemet, you might see different depictions of different mushrooms and different things that they utilized in order to give them a heightened state of consciousness and off-world intelligence. That's a real thing.
Okay. How close out for me. Tell the people what should they be doing. It's September, it's fall 2016. What do you recommend to everybody that's out there on their spiritual journey, on their spiritual path, trying to raise their consciousness? What would you recommend at this time, brother, to close it out?
What I would recommend to anyone is to become your dream. Live your dream. Okay. Know thyself. Know why you're here. Know your purpose. Know why you came to this world. And also fix your limitations. There's a lot of people I know that live in fear. They're the fear of the unknown. Don't fear the unknown. Embrace the unknown, because the unknown is what has given life to this world.
Leave your contact info, brother.
My contact
any events you got coming up, your events also.
Absolutely. I'm having a Kundalini activation on October the 15th. And then I'm having Hypernatural Magic in Weehawken, New Jersey, in the same location, October the 16th. We will only allow 100 people. to partake in this. I will only do this seminar one time in America, and that will be it. I also can be contacted on Facebook, Gano Grills. You can see the website, which is galacticus.com, GALIGHTICUS. We have 2 communities on Facebook, and that's where our support base is. And you can reach me particularly at galacticus@gmail.com. Oh, my number, 212-604-4446. And that's how you can schedule a consultation. Please don't call me and ask me to help you because you're in the spirit of lack, because I won't be able to help you with a phone call. You have to work that out for yourself, and that is your rites of passage, and that's how you get in contact.
Thank you for your time, brother. This is Brother Rich, Underground Railroad Productions. We signing out, family. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace and blessings.